Hello everyone, I'm Women International Master Knarik and I'm using the chesswithknarik.com website to record this video. And I would like to introduce to you the chess.ie website that we are working on. You can always check out all the new additions that we are having in the website. And here, let's see, in today's video, what we will see is this. In this position, we are going to decide if this is a fortress for black or if in this position white can win this game with the extra knight. Now, we said that a fortress is when it's an endgame strategy where even if we have less material, let's say in this case black has a knight less, but we will be sure that it's going to be a draw because no matter how much white tries, they're not going to be able to win this game. So is it like that for black here? Or is there a way that white can break down the fortress and find a plan to win here? So you can pause the video and try to think of ways that you can win with white. If any way that you try works, it means this is not a fortress. But if you keep on trying and it's not going to work, it means that, yes, black is in a fortress. This is one of the positions that we have to keep in mind, that with an extra knight, it's a fortress and our opponent won't be able to win. So let's try the different options that white has here to win. Of course, since there's an extra knight, we can try to sacrifice the knight for one of the pawns. So then we will have an extra pass pawn on the g6 square with white. So let's say if we capture the h6 pawn, black captures back. And now it really doesn't matter here if black is taking the opposition or even if black is not taking the opposition. This game is going to end in a draw. Let's say first, let's see if black is taking the opposition. Of course, this is going to be a stalemate because when white plays the king to g6, that is a stalemate. And if white doesn't play king to g6 and we capture the pawn on g7, then even without the h6 pawn, this is going to be a draw for sure. So going back, what if in this position, okay, let's say white waits. Let's say that white is taking the opposition. Let's assume that black is playing a move that allows white to take the opposition, but even then, it's not going to be winning for white. Let's say we move away, and when white pushes the pawn, because we're on the edge of the chessboard, this is again going to end in a stalemate, because if white wants to promote this pawn, then white is playing king to f7, which is a stalemate. While if we go back, okay, maybe white can sacrifice this pawn and then capture the pawn on h6, but this is a rook pawn. It's again a draw, and it really doesn't matter who takes the opposition and who doesn't. This is going to be a draw again, even after we lose the pawn that's on h6. So going back, basically it really doesn't matter if white captures on h6 or g7, because as we said, even capturing g7, it's transposing to the previous position. Here white is going to have the extra g6 pawn, and even if I play the wrong move and white takes the opposition, white is not able to win this, and the game is ending in a draw or a stalemate. So sacrificing the knight by capturing the pawns is not working. What else can we try? So maybe sometimes when I put this position, let's say, ask my students to think about ways to win, sometimes they say that maybe they can try checkmating this king, let's say. But to checkmate the black king, it means that the king must be on h8, our king must be on f8, and then we're going to be able to check. But that's a bit not possible here, because the moment that the king moves to h8 and our king moves to f8, but that's already going to be a stalemate. Black is not going to have any moves to play and then allow you to checkmate. So checkmate is not really possible here. Now, what about we try sacrificing the knight on different squares, not capturing the pawns, but for example on g5 or on f6. Now, let's try sacrificing our knight on g5. So we can move our knight to g3, for example, and then to e4, and then to g5. And all this time, black has absolutely nothing to play. It's just moving h8, g8 with the king. So let's say the knight moved, and we moved to g8. So now white's thinking about sacrificing the knight on the g5 square. So can the knight move right now to the g5 square? Well, of course not, because here when we capture, we just want to push this pawn and promote. Now white is losing even, so and pushing it is not really going to help because we can just capture. That's it. White has nothing here because our king has blocked the g8 square. So going back, moving to the g5 square for the knight when our king is on g8 is not good. White is even losing, we said. So maybe white should wait so that when we move to h8, then they move the knight to g5. Okay, here, yes, if we capture, white can win this because white king can get closer. It's not stalemate now. We will have a move to play, and when white pushes the h pawn, now white's threat is just to capture and checkmate. And if we capture, then white is gonna push with a check and then promote with a checkmate on the second move. So going back, if the knight moves to g5, we're supposed to not capture this knight, but we do have other options here. For example, we can move our king to g8, and now what? Now we are threatening to capture the knight. So just a simple king move is not possible here. The knight should move away. But then we're just repeating the position, and moving the knight to g5 is not a way to win for white because then we're just moving to g8, not capturing it. Now, what if instead of moving to g5, this knight moves to f6? How about that? Let's see. If we move the knight to f6 in this position, well, black is forced to capture. And once again, when black captures, now black will have moves to play, which means that we can plan to checkmate here. And white can win here by playing king to f7, for example, and black has a move to play. It's not a stalemate here, and we will be able to check and second move promote and checkmate. So this was winning for white. Now, and it wasn't a fortress for black actually. So if we go back, now what if by mistake, instead of here, instead of moving to f6 when the black king is on h8, what if, let's say, if by mistake we move to f6 when the black king is on g8? Well, that is again not something that black should be worried about because here capturing is going to be fine and we're back to the position where this was being a draw. Well, if the white king is on e7, at least white is not losing, because if white king was on e8, white is even losing because our pawn is just going to push and promote. But if the white king is on e7, then white can capture, but this is again a draw because we just saw this several times when we saw in the beginning how the knight was sacrificing for a pawn. So it's very important that white plays knight to f6 when our king is on h8. And basically here there is no problem with that because even if our king is on g8 in this position, white can simply wait with the king, wait for our king to move to h8, and then move the knight to f6 and force black to capture and go to the line where white can checkmate black. So let's go back to this position. So we can clearly say that here in this position, this is not a fortress for black and white can win this. And the way to do that is we just tried when the king was on h8, the black king was on h8, we tried to put our knight on f6 and that was winning for white.